at a brand or a company. I can decipher their advertisements. That's a gift that FIDM gave to me. I use a design ethos for products, for people, to everyday life. It's like, okay, I'm a fashion designer. I'm a designer of life.
FIDM gives us the tools to step into the industry and be well-rounded, and we have that passion, but now we have all the tools to take it to the next level. I love how unique I feel, but also in a community and how we can come together and create.
I've made lifelong friends here.
Definitely feel a sense of community and love here and acceptance.
Now that I'm here, I feel like I belong here.
It's just really inspiring and very unique. I don't really feel like there's another place like it.
So again, just a little info about FIDM, but let's talk about how to ace that interview. How to be effective when you are sitting there in front of a potential employer. And I can tell you right now that the very first question they're going to ask you is, tell me about yourself. And they are looking to establish some of your experience, some of the things that you feel are strong qualities about yourself. This is not a time for you to talk about your personal life. This is a time to talk about why you are going to be very effective as an employee. But let's take a listen.
So why don't you describe yourself, Mr. Dupree?
I'm a people person. I'm very personable. I absolutely insist on enjoying life. Not so task-oriented. Not a workhorse. If you're looking for a Clydesdale, I'm probably not your man. Like, I don't live to work. It's more the other way around. I work to live. Incidentally, what's your policy on Columbus Day?
We work.
Really? The guy discovered the New World. Afraid to even ask about victory over Japan Day. Hey, we tried, right?
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Get my resume.
So clearly you want to impress the potential employer that you're really there seriously pursuing a job and that you're very interested in having this conversation. Of course, the very first thing that you do is that first impression as you walk in the door. And that is really being able to dress professionally. For gentlemen, we are talking about a nice pair of slacks, a button-down shirt, definitely belted, tucked-in shirt. You don't have to wear a suit. I will tell you that if you dress for the job you want to have 10 years from now, you will definitely be more effective in that interview. And certainly adding a tie is a component that is gets across to the employer that you're serious about your job search. Girls, I would say not to, you want dresses that are not too tight, clothing that's not too revealing. It's a very good idea to wear a sleeve, at least a short sleeve, if not a long sleeve shirt or dress. No fancy fabrics, no glitzy fabrics. Really, those muted tones are considered very professional. Maybe a nice jacket over a pair of pants or skirt. Always wear a little bit of a heel because that gives you a little bit more authority in the room. And then for both men and women, keep your hair nicely groomed, out of the face, and keep the jewelry to a minimum. So the body language that we saw in that video really let the employer know that he wasn't that interested in the conversation. When you are sitting before a potential employer, you really want to sit up straight in your chair, have your feet firmly planted on the ground, and lean slightly forward, because that shows an interest in the conversation and in what the questions are. When you greet this potential employer, a firm handshake, good eye contact, a nice smile, those go a long way. Body language can really send a subconscious message. So like I said, good eye contact, good posture, facial expressions. It's I think a very important in the United States. We definitely read people's faces as we're speaking to them, and we get a feel for whether they're being honest, forthright, direct. So those are very important things. Let's take a look again to a quick little example of body language.
My name is Steph Saunders. I'm a junior communications major at URI. I'm very interested in getting experience in marketing, and I play soccer. So I'm good with people on a team. My name is Steph Saunders. I'm a junior communications major with a minor in business administration. I've been on the dean's list every semester for the past 3 years, and I've been very involved on campus. I'm a part of the Student Senate, and I'm also a member of the women's soccer team. This last semester, I was able to gain real valuable work experience by interning in the Alumni Relations Group, where I was able to work on event planning and different marketing tasks. I really feel like my internship, coupled with my experience on the soccer team, would make me a real valuable asset to your team.
So let's talk about that for just a minute. Throw into the chat, if you can, what you saw in the first video that was not right. What was she doing in that first video that clearly wasn't good body language?
Ho, ho, ho.
Right? So many things. Go ahead, Edward. Chewing gum, I see that. Leaning back, she was slouching. Her dress was not very professional. Absolutely. All of those things. And I cannot tell you how important it is to sit up straight in an interview. And for that matter, thank you, Michael. Yeah, she didn't really care. Yeah, I like that. Donde. She said she was a good communicator, but not really happening. You know, when you sit up straight, when I said lean forward, it really sends a message to the person listening to you. When you're sitting in a situation and you're slouching, you're basically telling the person in the room that you're bored and you really don't have an interest in what they're talking about. So that's a huge, huge body language indicator. But I also want to talk just very quickly about the body of what she said when she was in the appropriate video. She began to explain some achievements and accomplishments, and she also then began to connect that to some qualities that she possesses. And she's letting that employer know why she believes she's a good candidate. Those are very important points to get across, and we're going to look at those a little closer here. First of all, we want to be concise and specific when we talk about what we think our attributes are. So when they're saying, tell me about yourself, this is your opportunity to give that little elevator pitch, that 30-second, these are the qualities that I feel I have. These are the experiences that back them up. And that's why I think I would make a good candidate. And it's about being very specific. You could certainly say I'm a team player, but it's better to back up that quality with something that you've experienced. She plays volleyball. She's a staff writer for the newspaper. These have taught her how to work with people to achieve a common goal. That's important to an employer. You may not have any experience in the particular business, but if you can assure them that you are a person who works well with others and then back that up with experience, that is very effective. You want to absolutely do research on your company that you are interviewing with. So this afternoon, Michael, you want to make sure that you've got some good information about that company, because at the end of this interview, they're going to ask you if you have questions, and you absolutely want to have some questions. So research the company that you are looking into applying for. Look at their job postings and see what kind of people are they looking for. And then establish what you believe to be your qualities and see if they align with what that company is looking for. Starbucks is looking for a friendly, upbeat person who's a team player and contributes to the profitability. I can tell you that most of us will do a good job at being able to work well with others and communicating, being friendly, outgoing. So those are things that right away you could align yourself with this job posting. Qualities and abilities. Here's just a sort of quick rundown that Starbucks is looking for. But let me ask all of you, throw into chat or unmute and tell me a very strong quality that you feel an employer would be looking for if you were applying for their for a job that they have. Tell me one of your qualities that you believe you have. Unmute or put it in chat. Good communicator, punctual, attention to detail, like those. Good time management, that one's great, Layla, absolutely. Flexible to learn, I love it. Quick learner, excellent. Listen, you guys are great. These are absolutely perfect because you could have no work experience at all and you could go in dependable, positive, yes, great with directions. These are going to impress an employer. This may be the first job you ever apply for, but if you can let them know that you're dependable, that you are they're a good listener, that you are a good communicator, that you learn quickly, all of those things, very, very important to an employer, and you want to get those across. It's a good idea too, after maybe later today or prior to any interview, to sit down and pick out 3 or 4 qualities that you think are your strongest, and then back those up with something in your life that makes you know you are accurate, thorough, and have pride in your work, or dependable, or a quick learner. Explain an experience that backs that up. That's part of that elevator pitch. You're going to be asked, why do you want this job? And it is very important that you don't say it's because you need the money, someone told you to get a job, you want to buy a car. Okay, this is not about what is in it for you. When you're applying for a position at a company, they're looking at it as what's in it for them. And that's what you have to talk about. Starbucks will even ask you if you drink coffee or if you like coffee, because they want to know that their employers are actually using their product. It's all about what's in it for them to build that company goal, I guess. So think about the ways that you can say what is in it for them. This person is applying at a boutique. She says, I appreciate detail in clothing, the name brand quality of your line. If you've done the research on that company, you should also be able to say why you are actually applying there. I know that when you're of a certain age, you're just trying to get a job. And sometimes, very often we're willing to do whatever's out there. But as you move through your experience, it becomes more important to start applying for jobs that you really have an interest in. And those are the ones that the employer is going to know that you have a serious, interest in the job, because you have an interest in whatever that company does. For instance, I work for FIDM. I love fashion. I'm very detail oriented. I'm a freelance fashion designer. So being able to talk about that is important to me, and to be able to work in a company that also appreciates those particular goals makes us a good partner. So that is eventually what you're going to be doing when you're out there searching for a job. Another question that you'll absolutely get asked in most situations is if you have experience in that line of work. What do you say if you don't have any experience? What's your response? Anybody have a guess? Should you just say, nope, I don't? Everybody should be shaking your head no.
Possibly speak to the qualities that you think might be attributable to that position. I'm not sure, even if you don't.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You don't need to say, no, I've never done this type of job before. Take the qualities that you know you have and align them into that particular type of work. All right, exactly what you're talking about. And yes, Christina, demonstrating those transferable skills, those skills that every company is looking for. Taking the experience that you have and saying, you know, I have never done this exact work. However, I know that this experience I've had would be a great asset. While I've never been a cashier, I organized a fundraiser at high school. I was able to generate sales, handle money, and provide quality customer service. So her answer is not a negative. It's a positive. It's definitely taking those skills used in another experience and applying them to the job. I have very often throughout my lifetime in interviewing for a job been asked, what is your greatest strength? And sometimes that's actually difficult for us to say. That's why I encourage you to sit down this afternoon and just jot down some of the things that you feel are your greatest strengths, because you generally will be asked that question, but back it up with an experience that that makes that employer believe that you actually have that particular strength. When I'm working on a project, I don't just meet deadlines, I strive to complete the project well ahead of schedule. Okay. Part of that, I guess, elevator pitch is being able to address some of these questions really effectively. But you're also going to be asked, what's your greatest weakness? I would tell you that a lot of people probably have taken this question and said, well, sometimes I'm just, very, very, very neat. I'm too neat. So some of the answers that you might just go to, let's turn a positive or a negative into a positive, have probably been said time and time again. So really, really think about what is your weakness? What are some of the things that you know you need to work on? If you're late all the time, then you're going to have to say, I sometimes run late, but I've started preparing myself to leave 10 minutes early and I'm really working on this. So whatever that weakness is, back it up with your plan to make it a strength. I'm a slow worker, or although I've never missed a deadline, sometimes I spend more time than necessary on a task. So explain the weakness and then say how you're turning it into a positive. I want to move ahead because I want to make sure we get all of this in by 12:30. They're definitely, like I said, going to ask you, what questions do you have for me? And to show that interest, to show that you've researched, to show that you're prepared, make sure you have one or two questions. Remembering that it's what's in it for them. Don't ask about vacation, how much you're going to get paid, what are their breaks like and their benefits. That's something that you're going to ask once they've offered you the job. What you want to ask are things like, how would you describe the ideal candidate? What do you consider the most important aspect of the job? And perhaps even, how would you describe your company's culture? I am an advocate for finding a workplace that people get along, that it's positive, that people are uplifting. And I believe that you should find those things out before you begin at a company. I have always also been an advocate of an interview is not just for them to get to know you. This should also be a time for you to get to know them. So you want to have those questions that's helping you learn about the position, the company, its plans, its goals, its mottos, and see if if for you that is the right company as well. So asking these questions can help really give you a better sense, and it will also let that employer know that you're serious about the job search. It's nice to finish your interview with asking about the next steps in the interview process. It will give you a clear picture. Are you hiring, today, or is this several weeks from now? When will I know what the next step is? So I think this is a very valid question and kind of directs you. And then as you close that interview, you want to thank them very much. You want to summarize your strengths if you get that opportunity, and thank them very much for their time. Now, I know that Christina is putting the next workshop in there where we're actually going to talk about the thank you letter, but when you leave that interview and you return home, the first thing you want to do is either send through email or snail mail a thank you letter. So that has covered our acing the interview, some of those key questions that you are 99% probably going to get asked, and some tips on how to answer them. Does anyone have any questions for me?